So under AT_ company code, you have different attributes. Inside AT_ company code, you have different attributes. So what's the attribute I require here? I require BUKRS. So BUKRS is equal to 1000. So we restrict the attribute, or each of the attribute we have the company code 1000. There are multiple company codes, but here I'm restricting BUKRS is equal to 1000. So based on the company code 1000, now from the analytic views, what do we get? We get the gross revenue. What are my gross revenues for this company code? So for the user 2, it's only going to display for this company code called 1000, the gross revenue for example is 1000 USD. Now with the combination of attributes, so when designing an analytic privilege, so what is the first thing? We need to select the analytic view. Under this analytic view, what are my attribute views? Under this attribute views, what is the column? Under this column, what is the value? So this is the lowest level for the restriction of data. Until the attribute value, we need to restrict. And get the gross revenue. Again, this user, when he log into system, there would be multiple packages. Now, should we have access to all the package? We need to limit what package he would like to see. That is known as package privilege. So when you want to limit the package, what packages should be seen by the user? We limit using package privilege. When you want to limit data, we limit using analytic privilege. When you want to limit what is the tables or what is the schema that the user should access, what tables and what schema should users should access, that is, we limit using object privilege. Use object privilege. So object privilege is used to restrict tables, schemas, and other database objects. Package privilege is used to restrict on a package. Analytic privilege is used to restrict data inside attribute values. System privilege. System privileges are predefined privileges. For example, create schema, export, import, data backup. All these are predefined system privileges that are given by SAP. So when you assign a system privilege called data backup, you can back up data. When you assign to create schema system privilege, it means that that particular user can create schema. System privilege. So how many types of privileges we have? One is analytic privilege, object privilege, package privilege, and system privilege. And the last is application privilege. Application privilege is a privilege that you can restrict data outside the HANA database. Outside. It means that on the client side. So what are the advantages of analytic privilege? First of all, we cannot directly restrict data on a table. We can restrict only on information views. The advantage is usually ECC is on top of HANA, for example. Or let's say BW is on top of HANA, ECC or BW. ECC or BW is on top of HANA system. When ECC or BW is on the MS SQL or any other traditional RDBMS, not only on HANA, on any other traditional RDBMS. So do we have a way that we can directly restrict data in the database? Now traditionally what we are doing, we are designing the privileges on the application layer. Now if I ask the same question, for the user John, only show me data for company code 1000. If this was my requirement, what system does here is, when you basically create a user roles and restrict what data should be seen by what user, what system does is, it sends the request to the database. It goes to the respective table, for example, T001. It goes to the company code column. So what does it do in database? It cannot directly restrict data 1000 at the database level. You cannot do it over here. All it does is it transfers the entire data. All the data of the table is transferred, and at the application layer the restriction is applied and then sent to the front end. So what is the problem that we have over here is, the problem is to transfer the entire data. Traditional RDBMS like MS SQL are designed to operate on disk. When you request any kind of data, it has to select the data and transfer the entire data into the application layer, apply the restriction at the runtime of the user query, and give back to the user. Now what is the advantage of analytic privilege? The advantage of analytic privilege is Analytic privileges are not designed at the application layer. They're designed at the database layer. When you design at the database layer, where are we restricting data? At the database layer. So, what is the difference between this and this? In this, it transfers the entire data, filters the data at the application layer, and sends to the front end. In HANA, it filters the entire data at the database layer, only sends the required data that is requested by user and to the front end. So analytic privileges restrict data at the runtime of the user query inside the database, even before data is left to the application layer. We have HANA Live data models, but we cannot show all the data from all the views. They have to restrict data for each of these views based on different roles. A manager can see all the data. An employee can see only data that is relevant for him. For example, his salary. Employee can see only his salary, whereas manager can see all the employee salaries that are assigned to him. So based on the user, this user called John, what is his role? What is his role in the organization? Inside this role, we need to assign object privileges. We need to assign system privileges. We need to assign analytic privileges. We need to assign application privilege, and then finally package privilege. So the combination of different privileges at different levels. So what is an object privilege? To restrict schema or database objects, DB objects. System privileges, predefined system privilege. For example, create schema. All these are predefined privileges when it is assigned to the role. Analytic privilege, restrict on data. Application privilege, designing the privilege at the application. For example, you designed an application that is running in Java, for example. And using JavaScript. So you can design the privilege at the application right in JavaScript in order to restrict data. That's on the application. So how we are doing in the database, you can do it in the application. And package privilege. restricting on package. So can we directly assign all these privileges to users without a role? Yes, we can do that. We can directly assign all these privileges even to a user directly, means without a role. But what is the concept of a role is, a role is an object that is reusable. I can reuse the role to different users. So the advantage of assigning to a role is reusability. So I don't have to assign to each and every user. Once I assign to role, I can assign role to different users. Okay, so let us start the exercise. Let us log into HANA Studio. Let me check some data already available. Let us check whether we already have data coming from these views. Okay. So here, let us take this example. We have an analytic view. Let us double click on the analytic view. Click on the start join. Let's select the company code, right click, open. Once you open AT company code, as the data foundation T001, the column is BUKRS. My requirement is when any user is seeing data from the analytic view, they should not be able to see the data relevant for all the company codes. We need to restrict based on user access. So I'm going to restrict on the analytic view. In the analytic view, we have an attribute view. Inside the attribute view, we're going to restrict to column and to 1000 company code. So based on the 1000 company code, it shows the gross revenues and sales reductions. So right click on the package, click new, and click on the analytic privilege. Click on the analytic privilege. Give the name. Give the label. Provide the label. ANP underscore company code 55. The label is company code 55. So select classic analytic privilege and click next. Select the required information models to define the analytic privilege. The model I would like to select is from ECC April 17. From ECC April 17, expand. Select the analytic views. Click add. Once you add, so you focus on the analytic privilege first. Select the analytic view and click finish. Once we click finish, this is a secured model. So we are seeing the type is classical analytic privilege. You see there is something called SQL also that we see when we discuss about SQL script. That is for scripting. This is for modeling. So select the analytic view. Let us select the analytic view and click add. If you want to add more analytic views, not only this, you can add more analytic views directly from the add button inside the analytic privilege. Now on this analytic view, associated attributes restriction. What is the associated attribute restriction? Click add. So what attribute view I want to restrict? Company code. Expand the company code. Select BUKRS. So please see what we are doing here. First we are selecting what is the analytic view. Under this analytic view, what is the attribute view? Under this attribute view, what is the value? So we selected what is the analytic view, what is the attribute view. Under this attribute view, what is the column? Select the column. Column is BUKRS. Under this column, assign restrictions. Click add. What is the operator equal to and what is the value? Click open help dialog. The value is 1000 and click OK. Now for example, a user wants to see 1000 and 2000 company code, for example. I can add. Again, click. Okay, so add the value 2000. Now, if I say there's a different combination of data. For Germany, it is 1000. For USA, it is a different combination. And how many privileges we need to create? Two. One privilege for Germany, another privilege for USA. So, now how do we know what privilege should be assigned to what user? Now, whose responsibility is that? The responsibility for that is the GRC team, Governance Risk Complaints. So there is a separate team in a company who actually knows what data should be given access to what user. Sometimes users send directly emails to us asking for assigning different data that they are not authorized to see. In such a case, we always need to ask them first need to get approval from the GRC team. So based on the governance risk complaints, they prepare an authorization matrix. So GRC team prepares an authorization matrix. In the matrix, it is clearly written what users should be able to see what data. So based on that matrix, the matrix is given to HANA administrators. With consultation with HANA administrators, the responsibility of an HANA admin is to create users, to create roles. We are responsible to create an analytic privilege or the other privileges that are surrounded with the analytic privilege. So we strictly follow authorization matrix when designing an analytic privilege. So in here, I'll just remove this. So we only give 1000 company code and click save and activate. So once we save and activate, and select the request and click finish. Once we click finish, click on this icon, restore, completed successfully. Now we design the analytic privilege. So once we design the analytic privilege, what is the next step? Analytic privileges are designed. Analytic privileges are designed. Now this analytic privilege we need to assign to role. So let us assign to a role. We design this, next let us create a role and assign to a role. So here is the analytic privilege. Now we design the analytic privilege. Now in the security, expand the security. And here we find users and roles. Right click on the role, new role. but we don't have authorization here. To the developer, we'll never have authorization to create role or users. So we need to double click on system, give the username and password. Expand security. Right click on roles, create new role. Give the name for the role. Let me give the name as Jet Sales underscore Manager for USA. Sorry, it's for Germany. We're creating a role. Now to this role, here we see system privilege, object privilege, analytic privilege, package privilege, application privilege. So who is actually doing this part? This part is actually done by the HANA administrators. Creating roles, assigning roles to the users is taken care by HANA admin. Our responsibility is only to create analytic privilege. So that's our responsibility. So in an organization, every role has a responsibility assigned. So we need to limit according to our responsibilities. We cannot do something which is not our responsibility. Every role has a responsibility. So we define a set of roles in an organization, the tasks that we can perform with high priority. For example, I'm basically into teaching. So basically I do every day, the most priority for me is to teach in the class rather than taking calls and answering. So that is a different person's responsibility. So every person has a responsibility in an organization. So like that, we have a responsibility to only create an analytic privilege. Anything that is done beyond to it is only when that person is not able to do it. Or the HANA admin is not able to do it or is not available, only then we create this role. So the things that I'm teaching now, creating of role and user, is actually not relevant for us, but only good to know. It's only good to know for us. So we click on the analytic privilege. We copy this. We copy the analytic privilege. Click on the plus icon. Select the analytic privilege and click OK. So under this analytic privilege, what do we have inside this analytic privilege? We have analytic views. Under this analytic views we have attributes. Under this attribute we have value. So we are giving one of the input here. We are giving one of the input. So what are the other inputs? Object privilege. Now what is the importance of object privilege? Now please see, when we create an analytic view, where does the column view generate? The column view is generated in _sys_bi. See. Now without having an access to column views, we cannot directly read data from analytic views, because analytic view is a design time view and column views are runtime views. So in the runtime view, we need to give access to the user. So in order to give access on this schema called sys_bic, because if we don't have access, we cannot read data. Because this is what we are reading, which is the runtime view. Runtime view is reading the data. So in order to give access to the runtime view, in the object privilege, we need to click on the plus icon and _sys_bic. _sys_bic. Select the schema and click OK. So once you select the schema, you need to have a select privilege. Means you have to select on the schema. Now if you want a specific view, for example, you want a specific view to be assigned, then you can go to the package, right click on the column view, copy column view name, on the right click on the analytic view, click on the plus icon, so select column view type analytic views and click OK. Now I'm doing a select privilege on the column view. Now this is at the lowest level. This is at the lowest level. And this is on the highest level. So you can access all the column views. This is only a specific column view. Now you also have time dimension. You see, please see here, in this data model, we even have the time dimension. Now for a time dimension, the data models are requested from sys_bi. So now even we need to assign, click on the plus icon, _sys_bi, because we are also accessing time dimension tables. And click OK. Click select privilege. Click on the plus icon. So in order to access the repository, have access to the repository, we need to select this procedure, repository_rest. So this is the standard practice. This is a standard object. We need to assign repository underscore rest and click OK. And have an execute privilege. So this is to access the metadata. Not to access the metadata, we need to have access to repository underscore rest. Once this is done, click on the system privilege. The system privilege, there are predefined system privileges like backup admin. You can take backup. So this will be taken care by admins, data admin. Export. You can export data models. Like import. If you want to import a delivery unit, like the other day we imported a delivery unit, so we need to have import. In order to maintain license, in order to maintain the license, we need to have license admin. In order to monitor admin. So these are the list of restrictions we apply for the user. So basically in here, all these are different system privileges. You can select everything and click OK. I'm giving access to all the system privilege. Now here you have package privilege. In the package privilege, click on the plus icon. What is the package? The package is ECC underscore April 17. ECC underscore April 17 is the package. So this is the package. So if I select this package, it means that I can only access this package data models to this role. So I'll give repo read, means I can read the package views, I can edit the package views, I can activate the package views, I can maintain the package views. Maintain, activate, edit, read. If you want to give access to all the packages, click on the plus icon, give root. So when we specify root, it means that you can give access to everything. Root package. So we're not giving the root package, we're only giving the ECC underscore April 17 and click deploy. So this is the role that we created. So until now what have we done? You see, object privilege, system privilege, analytic privilege, application privilege, and package privilege we assign to role. What is the name of the role? The name of the role is so this is the name of the role. Inside this role we assigned this is the analytic privilege. Inside this role we assign this privilege. So privilege to a role and role to the user. So next is you need to give access to the user. So this is the final stage. Once you give access to the user, now user will log into HANA system. or the UI. And UI, underneath the UI, you have HANA. So step number 1, to create analytic relay. Step number 2, to create roles. And step number 3, assign role to the user. So let's go back to HANA Studio. Right click on the users, click new user, click on the new user. So once you click on the new user, give the user name. Username is Mac. The password is W capital welcome 123. W capital welcome 123. So to this user, what should I assign? We need to assign this role to the user. Jet sales underscore manager underscore DE is the role. And this is the analytic privilege. So we assign role to the user. So let's go back. Under granted roles, click on the plus icon and copy paste the role. Copy paste the role, select the role and click OK. Now we assign the role, which is the custom defined role, and click deploy. Once you click deploy, you also see something called public role. So this is automatically generated by system, and this is the role that I assign to the user called Mac. So directly we can assign object privilege, entity privilege, package privilege. We can directly assign here also. I can directly assign to the user. But why did I assign to the role? If we double click on the role, now in the role also we can see all these options. The reason is for reusability. One role I can assign to multiple users. So now what Mac will do? Now Mac will actually, who is a business user, for example, he's a super user. Mac is a super user. So for example, now we'll come to the system. We'll come to the system. I'll give the host name. He'll provide the instance number. Mac HANA. Click next. He gives his username called Mac. He gives his password welcome123 and click finish. So once he clicks for the first time, system will propose, okay, change your password. So old password is W capital welcome123 and new password, he gives his own password. Password is welcome1234, W capital, and click OK. Password for Mac changed, click OK. Now Mac is logged into system for the first time. Now here you can notice when the first time Mac login, you see, do we have all the catalogs? You see the best, you can see, best has access to all the catalogs. Means all the schemas. So under the catalog, you can see all the schema. But Mac can only see system-defined schemas and his own schema. Whenever a user is created, automatically a schema for that user is created for the user to work on this schema. This schema has full authorization for Mac. Now, the best user can see all the package. You see there are different packages under best. We can see all the package. But if you go to the content for the Mac user, so I can see only one package. Why? Because of package privilege. Here we can see all, but here you can see only one. Expand the package, expand the sub-packages, expand the analytic view. Now we are in, what is the view that we restricted here? Data native, okay. So we have taken this view. Now if you go to content and the best, go to the package, ECC April 17, expand SD. Now here, if I right click on the analytic view and click data preview, click data preview, click raw data, select view caras, drag and drop into labels axis. Now here we can see all the company codes and the gross revenue, VV010. You can see company codes, all the company codes and all the gross revenues. This is for which user? This is for the user best. You can see all the company codes. But because I implemented analytic privileges for Mac user, now I'll go to the Mac data model. I click data preview. I click in data preview. Now let us drag and drop view caras. So it says insufficient privilege, search table error, user is not authorized. Okay, so first what we do is just right click data preview. So click on distinct values. Click on distinct values. Now when you click on view caras, so how many company codes can we access over here? Only one company code. Click on raw data. When you click on raw data, so here we can see the company code that is only D. That is nothing but Germany. Now if I click on add filter, click add filter, filter on view caras, click on show list of values, insufficient privilege. We can only see for company code 1000 only. We cannot see any other company codes. Now if I assign in the distinct values, I can only see for 1000. Now if I go back to the system and user has requested for additional company codes, for example, go to the content. Let's say user has requested for additional company codes. So upon the request and approval from the GRC team, then again we go back to the package ECC April 17. Double click on the analytic privilege. Now in here I add one more value equal to, so we can change. Let's say I'm giving access to 2300 company code and click OK. Validate and activate. So deploy. Now again I come back to Mac. Again we're back to Mac. Right click data preview. Now this time we should also see data for 2300. Click on distinct values. Click on view caras. Now here we're only seeing the count, which is 1000. So let us increase the maximum hits. Let's take it, for example, 4000. Click refresh. Still we are not able to see 2300 company code. This is because the 1000 value has more than 4000 hits. That is the reason we are not able to see. And if we give, let's say we give 5000, click refresh. Still it is more than 5000. Let's give 10,000. So input greater than maximum limit 5000 is not allowed. So we can only see hits only for 5000 records. We cannot see more than 5000 records inside the HANA Studio. Inside the HANA Studio, it is not possible. So in order to see whether we're only able to access 1000 and 2300, you can directly click on raw data. Inside the raw data, you can just try to go to land 1 and see the company codes here. So please see, now I am also able to see US. You're also able to see US and Germany. So US, for which company code? For 1000. So not only for Germany, we can also see for United States. So analytic privileges is nothing but to restrict data at the runtime of the user query. For the best, we can see all the company codes, and for Mac, we can only see the company codes that we restricted to. This is how we design the analytic privilege. Now these analytic privileges can be automatically imported. Now this I am doing it manually. Now when you have already defined roles on the application layer, if you already design the roles on the application layer, we can import them to HANA. The roles are automatically created by system. Now everything that we're doing is doing manually here, using something called analytic authorization. So when you have HANA live, you can import, generate analytic privileges, update analytic privileges. When you click on generate analytic privileges, it's going to ask to select the system. What system you want to import. You want to import to best and click OK. What package you want to choose. What system you want to take and what package you want to choose. And then what is the schema we want to choose? What package you want to store the roles? What is the application component? You can select those relevant application components and select relevant query views. And then automatically import the privileges on the application layer to the HANA system. That we'll see in tomorrow's session. And tomorrow we'll see how to import automatically. So we don't have to do anything. Just click import. Everything will be automatically imported from the application layer. So we don't have to redesign. But still we need to redesign, and you want to enhance an analytic privilege after the import. So today we see from the scratch, step-by-step process. Tomorrow, with just a click, we can import all the analytic privilege. Any questions? Please type in your question. I'll read the question and answer your question. Just to summarize, first step is to create an analytic privilege. Inside the analytic privilege, we need to assign what is the information views, the restrictions, create a role, assign package privilege, object privilege, system privilege, analytic privilege, create a user, assign roles to the users. Users will only see at the runtime of the user query. So we're not restricting anywhere. At the runtime of the user query, the data is restricted. So next, here we have a question. How do we verify data if 5000 is the limit? You can always change the limit. So how do you change the limit? You can go to HANA Studio, click File, click on Properties. You can use the preference. In the preference, you can always change the limit. It's taking some time. So here you can change the limitation. So here 5000 is recommended, no limit, might lead to memory issues. So you can choose this option and click Apply. So it's only default, but you can change. So next question. I have a doubt, a view has been created in one package and the same view I use in my package. View has been created in one package and the same view yes, you can use. There are two ways that you can use. One is you can copy, or you can copy. The first thing is you can copy. The second thing is you can refactor. What is refactor? Refactor means move. Copy means cut and paste is refactor. Copy and paste is copy. So here one more question. We have, what type of memory issue will degrade the speed when it is out of limit? Nothing but, you see, it is not for the developer that we are using HANA system. A developer is only to test, to create, but the actual advantage is for business. So we limit the usage for the developer. The more focus is for business, because these systems are designed for the usage of business. So we give more priority to them rather than taking priority to us, which is the best practice. It is only the best practice SAP says. It is recommended. If you still want to do, you can go ahead and do. But this is only a warning. It is not an error. Just a warning, please do not do. So next is, I have a flat file with data with two different tables. Can I import the flat file? Yes, you can do import. So I'll show you how to import flat files. On Monday session. Monday session I'll show you how we can import the flat file. Monday session we see a few more topics related to importing of data models. So importing of ways to import data into HANA directly. Now without using data provisioning. We don't use data provisioning, we can directly import. Tomorrow we can see currency conversions. Okay, then we'll see in tomorrow's session, same time. Thank you everyone. We'll see you tomorrow, same time. We discuss about analytic privilege and then quickly move on to the currency conversions. Tomorrow's session. Thank you.